Good evening and welcome to Channel 451 News. Tonight we have some exciting stories for you dealing with the predictions of Ray Bradbury and his novel Fahrenheit 451, which was written in 1951, and how we've seen them come true in today's society.
This evening we will be discussing how we've seen the predictions of Ray Bradbury and his novel Fahrenheit 451 come true in today's society. We will be briefly touching on several topics, such as drug abuse. Let's go to Peyton Lizzie reporting from the local pharmacy with the rest of the story.
Peyton, are you there?
Teens and young adults have continued to abuse drugs because they somehow think that it's cool to go with the crowd. Drug abuse leads to addictions and in some cases death. Ray Bradbury hinted at his prediction to this when he has the main character of Fahrenheit 451 walk into a room to find his wife in a coma from abuse of sleeping pills. In the world Bradbury creates in the novel, drug abuse is so common that they have assigned people to pump the drugs out of their systems and return them to normal. Even though now the problem is not as severe as Ray Bradbury predicted, it is still a bigger issue than it should be. A survey taken by the U.S. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration determined that 8.7% of people ages 12 and up use prescription drugs more than they are supposed to. If this incline in prescription drug abuse continues, it is predicted that over half of people 12 and up will be doing this by 2030.
Thank you, Peyton. Now on to increased materialism. Research shows that generations are focusing more on money, image, and fame than they have ever before, because they believe that material wealth will bring happiness and well-being. In Fahrenheit 451, Bradbury creates a materialistic world. Let's go to Ling and As Seen on TV store with the rest of the story.
In the United States, there is a growing trend of increased materialism. Americans are willing to spend a year on a deserted island or even murder someone for money. Students attending college have also increasingly admitted that their purpose is to gain financial wealth, rather than to develop a meaningful life philosophy. Why do people seek material wealth? For happiness. However, studies have shown that this has had little to no effect. In Fahrenheit 451, people revolve around key material possessions, such as TV walls and fast cars. Ray Bradbury writes about Mildred Montag, who wants a fourth TV wall installed in her parlor. Although they are extremely expensive, Mildred insists that having the fourth wall will be fun. This materialistic society that Bradbury portrays in his story represents the increased materialism of today's society. People continue to seek material wealth, fame, and fortune because they believe these things will bring them happiness.
Thank you, Ling. Who would have known that Ray Bradbury could make such a prediction even back then?
The society in Fahrenheit 451 is similar to today's society in that there are several increasing focus on material wealth. Whether this is in social status or just happiness, studies show that people are beginning to worry more and more about this than ever before. Through his writing in Fahrenheit 451, Bradbury was able to make yet another prediction about the world: increased materialism.
We've also seen an increase in commercial abuse of religion. Companies have been using religious holidays to convince people to buy gifts on these days. Let's go to Brandon with this story. Brandon?
Thank you. As you can see, there are decorations everywhere, and one can't help but wonder why it's such a big deal. The truth, of course, is that businesses have stuck the idea into people's head that they need to give their friends and family the best gifts possible because God says so. This is ridiculous. If you look at nationwide sales statistics, you'll find that the number of items purchased increased by a wide margin during the holiday period. In Fahrenheit 451, Jesus can be found in living rooms of people everywhere, coaxing them into buying things they don't need. One can't help but wonder if God would recognize his own son with the way he has been dressed up by the media.
Thank you, Brandon. I plan on buying my family $4,000 cats for Christmas. They need the best cats money can buy.
Oh wait, what is this? Breaking new information about population. Jake is live on the scene. This exponential growth of people in the world has in turn led to a rise in automation. This increase in cars on the road was because of advancements in technology and mass production of vehicles making cars widely available to the billions of people alive today. Ray Bradbury predicted such growth in this automation as well. In his novel Fahrenheit 451, he displays the image in the reader's mind of superhighways with dangerously fast speeds. Here in Texas, there are highways with over 12 lanes and with speed limits topping 85 miles an hour.
Thank you, Jake, for such an interesting article presentation. This has also led to an increase in auto fatalities. Sue is with the story right now.
Sue here telling you about auto fatalities. It's hard to believe, but fatality rates here in Texas have actually decreased over time. from around 4,000 to less than 3,000, and fatality rates overall are at an all-time low, mostly due to an increase in driver safety and the technology that goes into producing an automobile. As you can see, manufacturers are hard at work developing safety features that will allow the car to stop in the event of a sudden obstacle and/or pedestrian. In Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury predicts that auto fatalities and the recklessness of drivers will increase over time. Thankfully, this turned out to be false. While Bradbury was correct in saying drivers were more distracted, he was wrong in believing that fatalities would rise in our current times.
How interesting. Thank you, Sue. It's fantastic to see that less people are dying each year in car accidents.
Another topic of tonight's broadcast is decline in the family unit. Families are beginning to fall apart, and this is due to, in part, to technology. Today, more people are living on their own, raising children on their own, and living away from their families. In Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury predicted the decline of the family unit due to increased dependency on technology. Now off to Catherine with the latest story.
Technology has played a major role in the decline of the family unit. The internet, for example, is filled with networking sites that can be accessed 24/7. An increased obsession to find as many friends as possible through these sites has created a stronger attachment to this virtual world. Television shows, on the other hand, seem to portray the ideal life. Aimed at people who want to have this seemingly perfect life, it creates a feeling of wanting to belong, as they originally would have with the family unit. For these people, the internet or television becomes their family. In Fahrenheit 451, Bradbury writes about Guy Montag, who feels trapped in a home with a wife he does not love, Mildred. The reader learns that Mildred is inseparable from the 3 TV walls in their parlor. When asked by Guy, Mildred refuses to turn the TV walls off. Mildred states that her family is the parlor. This portrays the decline of the family unit because technology has taken over Mildred's life. No longer do people spend time with their real families, but now they are attached to technology.
As you've already heard, in Ray Bradbury's novel Fahrenheit 451, he makes many predictions of what the world will be like more than 50 years later, and surprisingly, his predictions are fairly accurate. A specific prediction Mr. Bradbury made would be that the size of the population would be massive. The setting of his story describes a city in which the main character lives in to have over 3 million people. Today, many large cities have populations well over 1 million. Here in Houston alone, our population is over 2,200,000 people. Yet some cities have over 9 million people, such as Tokyo, London, and Mexico City.
It's crazy to think how the family unit has evolved over the past few years, just like Ray Bradbury had predicted. Over time, society has become more and more reliant on technology. People become so attached to this media-based idea that it becomes the world that they live in. Soon enough, people begin to lose sight of what is truly real and important. That is family.
Yet another prediction that is true is virtual reality TV and interactive television. Off to Jill.
Virtual reality and interactive television both contribute to losing touch with one human side. Today we have things such as World of Warcraft, which is an online virtual world and has over 10 million subscriptions. In Fahrenheit 451, the character Mildred, or Millie, has significant connection to the family, which is a virtual interactive replacement for family. How did Ray Bradbury know so much about technology that hadn't even been invented yet, and the effects it would have on people? Who knows, but what we do know is that he was right. The family that Mr. Bradbury portrays is a cheap substitute for family that does not exist. Instead of talking to her real family, which no one has any ties to once one is old enough to take care of themselves, Millie talks to these virtual people that are cousins, aunts, and uncles that don't exist. She doesn't know real communication because the family is generated to say things that only want to be heard, not the truth or a controversial opinion that might strike conversation deeper than what is on the surface. In Fahrenheit 451, Faber says society is like a save that grows any way you want it to. Even Jesus had gotten dressed up in a sugar crystal and saccharine, because he can pop up out of any television as part of the family. When we get down to it, interactive television and virtual reality take us away from our reality. It keeps us from our responsibilities to ourselves and the people around us. It's something Millie used to flee from her life because she was depressed about where her life had gone. But the family could cover it up just long enough to where she didn't have to face it just yet. We should note that in the 1950s, television had just begun its spread into domestic homes, and virtual reality wasn't invented until the late 1970s to early 1980s. Ray Bradbury's genius only continues to show itself as his predictions keep coming true. We see more and more families inside gathered around a television that they might not even be paying attention to because their children are on their cell phones, dads are on the latest piece of Apple technology, and moms on their laptops. We are slowly slipping into the dystopia Ray Bradbury imagined, and if we are not careful with how our world is developing, it could very well happen.
Isn't that so interesting, Jaleesa? How our society has seen an increase in virtual reality and interactive TV, and Ray Bradbury was able to predict all of this.
It's insane! But do you know what else is insane, Jake?
What may that be, Jaleesa?
The increasing popularity of sports. Sports have become so much more prominent in today's society than they ever were when Ray Bradbury wrote Fahrenheit 451. Off to Carlos de Garcia with all the latest information in the field.
Even though the book Fahrenheit 451 is over 60 years old, the predictions in the book are still continuing to come true today. In the book, Ray Bradbury, the author, gives slight hints that there will be an increasing popularity of sports when he has the main character talking to a 17-year-old named Clarice, and she is explaining to him what they do at school. She tells him how there are hours upon hours of sports practice. This has come true in a way that most young children try to pursue a career that involves sports to gain money and fame. There are much more sports offered at schools now than there were when Fahrenheit 451 was written in the 1950s, when the novel was written. The 3 sports offered at most schools were for boys, and they were football, baseball, and basketball. Since then, sports for girls and boys have been added, such as volleyball, soccer, and swimming. Now that sports have become more popular, the price to participate in them has also increased.
Thanks for the update, Carlos. The last topic we will be discussing this evening is political correctness. Jaleesa?
Ray Bradbury asked some serious questions in Fahrenheit 451. Why do we really do the things that we do? Is it because we are being polite, or is it that we don't want to disrupt our false sense of security? Either way, one is a lie and the other is deceitful to ourselves and the people around us. Ray Bradbury woke us up from this narrow way of looking up instead of in all directions and missing something coming right at us from the side. The characters Mr. Bradbury portrayed as Millie's friend were dangerously close to our reality today. People would rather believe happy lies than the hard truth. One woman's husband was off at war and hadn't been heard from in months. Well, he was dead. What did she care? They had a conversation saying that there would be no tears. She would just move on. There's no love in that marriage. We say it's politically correct not to be upset in public when around friends. Everything must be happy or else it's not politically correct. And you must go home as this woman did when she had gotten upset. We find this in society today. Couples and families going to church when their family can pull off the happy Christian family. Look, but when times get hard, one does not see this usually happy family at church that Sunday. It is politically correct to only go to church when everything is going well in one's life. We have seen that not only was his attitude present in 1953, but it is still present in 2012. More than 50 years and counting, Ray Bradbury's predictions are still coming true.
That's absolutely insane.
So as you can see, yet another Ray Bradbury prediction has come true. Not only was Ray Bradbury able to portray the decline of the family unit, increased materialism, interactive television and virtual reality, increasing popularity of sports, rising auto fatalities, political correctness, population explosion, increased automation, drug abuse, and commercial abuse of religion in his story Fahrenheit 451, but we can see now that their presence in today's society.
Well, that's it for tonight. Thanks for joining us on Channel 451 News.